The ICG is a community of independent market researchers who collaborate, share knowledge and experience to deliver value to fellow members and to clients. If you're an independent researcher and want to connect with over 400 like-minded people, gain access to our knowledge base, get inspiration, support and advice from other members, then why don't you join us? Either visit our website, theicg.co.uk/join, or email us at membership@theicg.co.uk. If you're a client company and want to connect with the largest resource of expert independent researchers in the world, with proven expertise across all markets, categories and techniques, then why don't you contact us? Either visit our website, theicg.co.uk/connect, or email us, connect@theicg.co.uk. If you're a supplier and want to promote yourself to over 400 buyers of research services, then why don't you contact us? Either visit our website, theicg.co.uk/advertise, or email us at admin@theicg.co.uk. The ICG, Expert Independent Researchers. This webinar is kindly sponsored by Reflections. Introducing Reflections, a new and inspiring market research viewing studio in the northwest of England. Since opening almost exactly a year ago, we've had nothing but positive feedback and praise from our clients. Without exception, everyone says they'll be back. The benefits of choosing Reflections for your next Northern groups are numerous. We have 2 studios and both are exceptionally light and airy. Our clients have told us that this environment really does promote high energy and creativity, which in turn helps them to do the best possible job. We have flexible furniture for a relaxed or a more formal environment. Additionally, there are 8 workstations around the side of the room that are all hardwired for any internet or website-based research that you may have. More than this, our staff make the difference. We have a team of very friendly, helpful and professional hostesses who are on hand to support you to run an enjoyable and successful project. On top of this, we have a large client room where people can spread out and enjoy the research. There is a TV in the room that relays the group. We have all the IT capabilities that you would expect from a viewing studio, high quality voice and visual recordings, as well as focus vision. Importantly, our catering offer is excellent. We offer delicious buffet lunches and dinners, as well as client and respondent sandwiches. We also have a great variety of takeaway options locally. Based in South Manchester, the facility is easily accessible. We're 20 minutes from Manchester city centre, a 5-minute taxi ride from Wilmslow train station, where there's a direct service to London Euston, a 10-minute taxi ride from Manchester Airport, 10 minutes off the M56 and 20 minutes off the M6. And finally, but very importantly, we have lots of free and safe parking directly behind our building. We really hope that you give Reflections a go for your next Northern project, and we promise not to disappoint.
Thank you everyone, good morning. Yes, so this session is all about video and how video can be at the core of your qualitative research. So not just an add-on, not something that's optional, this not something that's perhaps just a very small part of a research project, but maybe something that's at the very heart of what you're doing. And so to go through that, let's talk a little bit about video in general, and I think video has fitted with qual research for quite a long time. I'm not sure how many of you out there have actually used video so far, but obviously ethnography is one of the areas where it's used pretty extensively, and that's one of the areas where we as Big Sofa we started and have done a lot of our early work. I think probably it's fair to say we're about 50-50 now in terms of qual versus quant, and the majority of the work we did at the start was definitely ethnography. I think that's now changing considerably, and I'll talk about that. I mean, video in our lives is everywhere. Statistics from Cisco suggest that 80% of internet traffic will be video based within the next couple of years, and if you have kids like I do, you'll know that video is an very important part of their lives. They're always watching clips, they're watching people watching video, they're creating video all the time on various devices, and I think this is just how the world is going to be. It already is there, and it's going to continue. So video is on a huge increase in terms of how much we're capturing. I would say how we use it hasn't really changed much in the research industry until the new technologies have started to come in and make using video a lot more easy, because video is cumbersome. The files are huge and getting bigger and bigger. We're receiving extremely high quality, very large files, and just dealing with those is quite a headache. And that's one of the terms I get a lot when I'm talking to clients, is that video can be a headache, certainly before we start working with them. So video is something that can put people off, because when they have touched it, then the sorts of things they're struggling with is well, the huge file sizes for one, but just the time to go through and view all the footage, the time it takes to find the stories in the footage, and then the cost of editing, using a skilled editor to go through and actually cut the video so that you're actually getting the important bits into the research. These are all things that are not easy to do without the use of technology. So I'm going to talk about how technology can help and make video really much easier to work with. And I think once you realize that video is relatively easy to work with, then perhaps you can consider putting video more into the heart of what you do, because it's easier to do that. And so it changes the way you think about where you can position video, how much you can take, and what you do with it. So let's step back a couple of paces, and let's look at why would we use video. Well, I think in the most basic element, it's really as a record of what's happened. So it gives you the ability to go back as a reference. And we do deal with videos from traditional focus group facilities, and I would say we don't do a lot of it, and that's probably because sometimes the footage is a little bland. It's difficult to see the detail on faces. I think this could change with some of the new technology that's coming out with things like 360-degree, and the image may jump to faces, and I think that could make it a little bit more interesting to do more with the video afterwards, because you'll see more emotion on people's faces as you can see more detail. I think video as content is incredibly important. It's certainly something we believe that the video that you collect when you're using it in research is compelling. The clips that we have, when you're actually delivering really good video clips within a research brief, then you can get some really compelling stories. The clients tend to be very engaged with the deliverables that they're seeing that contains good video. So I think it's great for storytelling, and that will be probably one of the main reasons why you want to consider using video if you're not already. I think the next reason is that video provides great context. I mean, video gives you access, unparalleled access to people's lives, and something that you're just not going to get from a focus group or a depth interview. You've got all the context about where people are using things, who they're with when they're using things. You've got that whole additional context and validity. You've got you can see where they are, what they're doing. There's lots of extra information that you'll get. So video as context is incredibly important. And if you put all of those things together, then really video is illumination. So it really does bring the customers to life. So video as illumination, I think, is an incredibly powerful thing. And then maybe the thing that's going to be a bit surprising is that we can actually start to look and think about video as data. And I know that for qualitative researchers, this this can be a little bit frightening. This can be daunting to actually start thinking about picking out data from qualitative research. But let me explain a little bit. What video really does bring is the ability to, you can get people to tell you things as they're videoing, but one of the key things is that you're going to want people to show you what they're doing. So this is great for consumer research, and I'm going to go through an actual example that we did a few years ago now, but it's a very powerful example of how video can actually bring data to a research project. The ways we can capture video is getting easier and easier. So from having fixed cameras in people's houses, so we're doing a project at the moment where we've got cameras in three rooms in 12 people's homes, and they're going to be recording for up to a year. And this is a really different way of doing research. It's a little bit Big Brother, but it's fascinating, it's a completely different way of looking at behaviours and looking at how people interact with products, how they make food, whether they follow instructions, all these things that instead of people telling you what they do, you can actually see. And things like these, it's not intrusive. We're not sending an ethno team in. We just have fixed cameras, and we are recording. We're doing a lot of scrubbing of video, so we're getting rid of huge amounts of video that we don't need, and just homing in on the video that is important. So this is a very interesting area for us, and the cost of this technology is coming down all of the time. Another project we're doing is with micro cameras, where we're actually strapping cameras to bathroom sprays, so we can look at how people use the bathroom sprays and how many pumps they do and what surfaces they're cleaning, because what we're finding is what people tell you is quite different to what they actually do. They probably aren't thinking about it in enough detail to be able to tell you exactly what they do. So this is very interesting for our research purposes. Obviously, mobile phones and tablets are very easy, portable ways. You've got quite a high quality camera, particularly in things like an iPhone. You can generate some very good images and videos from those devices very easily. And one of the ways we've had some success in recruiting is to get people to use their mobile phones, recruit them and maybe their partner or a friend, and they can almost do self-ethno, where they're telling you things, they're showing you things, showing you how they do things, and it's quite an effective way of recruiting, and the footage we get is high enough quality to be useful. There are certain aspects, things like lighting, things like sound, that we need to give some advice on, but I think generally we're getting some very good results now from all sorts of different cameras. There's some really cheap glasses which have a camera built in, about 30 or 40 pounds. Very effective for getting people to show you what they're doing, maybe on a journey or when they're in a store, because the camera will point to where they're looking, and it's a very cost-effective way of getting some pretty good footage from people on the move. And also the technology in terms of streaming, so in terms of being able to not actually store things locally, but actually stream them straight to servers. So provided people have enough bandwidth, then it is possible to have live streaming from different devices. And you could have some kind of a dialogue, so you could have this moderated remotely. And I think Arthur is experimenting in this area with devices and cameras, and having remote moderators. So it's just an area that I think is exploding, and the great news is the costs are coming down all the time. The quality of the footage is going up, so we're at a really good spot, and there's lots of opportunities to do some quite exciting pieces of research without having a massive budget. Back to this laundry example, and this, if I could show you video, the system we're using isn't great at showing video, and so I'm not going to show you anything, but typically it's a 40-second clip, and it's of this lady who's describing her sort of washing routine. So it's her loading the washing, and she's talking about what she's doing, and we're also observing what she's doing. And from this, we're picking up a number of different data points, which is a mixture of observing what she's doing, so looking at products that she's got, looking at the behaviours, the fact that she's doing a mix load here, and she describes that she's used what's called a colour catcher, so she can put in both colours and whites. And there's information that she's also told us about hard water, how confident, how competent she is, some of the language that she's using. So there's all sorts of different levels of data that we can pick up here from this 40-second clip. And some of this is going to be important to the client, and some of this isn't. And often when we're processing video, and we're putting a structure basically around a very unstructured data source. So video is unstructured, of course. And what we are doing is actually looking at the video and tagging the behaviours based on either a predetermined tag frame, or maybe it's something that's more grounded theory, and we're actually looking for emergent behaviours. So tagging is an incredibly important part of working with video. This is really the way we make sense of video and make it searchable, make things findable, and the ability to pull the story of the research together. So without the ability to tag, then working with video is still quite cumbersome. But certainly with tags, they're incredibly powerful. You've got the ability to look at subjectivity and objectivity. And this is really, you're classifying, you're interpreting what's been going on, and you're really developing themes which will turn into the story of the research. So in this example, we have a number of different tags that we have determined, and so these are based on, it could be narrative, so the pink ones on the slide here. So this is what she's actually explaining, what she's doing. So we're tagging based on that. Then there's the behaviours. You know, what clothes she's putting in, what sort of products are going in, dosing behaviours. And then we have the different brands that are actually being used. And each one of these sort of overall tags can actually go into in a number of different sub areas. So in terms of little micro behaviors, subconscious things that she's doing, you know, different things on the narrative, the language she's using, the emotion that's coming across in the footage. So there's all sorts of different ways that we can analyze this. And the reality of this, I don't know how this is appearing on your screens, but we've got some moving images here of people doing their laundry and actually putting in the liquid. And in this sort of real example, we noticed there was a behavior that emerged, which was to do with people tapping the dispenser, trying to get it. It was basically too viscous, and this came out in the research that that unless there was this tapping technique that people were doing, and they were doing this, it just came across from about 5 or 6 different people, and they were trying to get that was one of the techniques they had to get the maximum amount out of the dispenser, and it didn't actually lead to the manufacturer going and changing the product to make it a little less viscous. So there are all sorts of different behaviors that come up when you're analyzing video to this level of detail, So in terms of tapping and pouring, the speed that people do things, the order that people do things. So there's a lot of different ways that we can analyze video to make sense of it. And one of the things you will get with video are a lot of emergent behaviours, a lot of surprises and insights that you really wouldn't get from asking questions. We're constantly surprised by the sorts of insights that, particularly across countries, different markets, how people do different things with their products. They use them in different ways, and it's there's lots of different surprises. There's one story we have, which is where we were showing people doing so hand washing up in Japan. We showed them pictures of people doing that from Britain. And they laughed and laughed, and they kept on wanting us to repeat the video time and time again. And it was because they have a completely different technique to washing up, hand washing up. They use a cloth, and they put the liquid onto the cloth, and then they wash the dishes with that cloth. And they're sort of adding more liquid every, maybe every minute or two, and there's always a running tap. So to see the British people putting the washing up liquid into a bowl of dirty water, they thought was hilarious. So things like that, where you have, excuse me, different behaviours in different markets. I think there's a never-ending surprise of what you'll get from videos of watching people actually using products in their real world. And I suppose where this is all leading to is a kind of mass qual. So the ability to do or to draw out a lot of data from qualitative research. And obviously this is gonna start bringing tech overload. The amount of information we can generate is almost infinite, and so we need to home in on what's important for the client, so that we don't generate information in the wrong areas. And the other way is, of course, the technology. So how will technology be able to handle this amount of data? So the kind of state of the market for technology is that it's pretty good at classifying things, and these are experiments you could do. If you go to Google Vision, you could put images and videos, and it will do its attempt to classify what it's seeing. So it's pretty good at picking out that it's a washing machine's there, there's a laundry going on. It definitely knows there are products there. It knows we're in a room. However, these are things that we already know, so there's no surprises here for the research. So technology is pretty good at identifying things. It's not so good at interpreting what is going on. So this is another image which a colleague of mine found. I'll just say that. And the system, this Google Vision API, is pretty good at identifying that there's toys. It's pretty good that there's action figures, but to actually tell you what's going on, it can't do that. I'm not even sure I could do that, to be honest. So whether that's a fair test. But in terms of when we're looking at using machines to interpret what is going on, the machines are certainly not there. I think they will get better, and we're monitoring it all the time. And there are things that the machines can do. So, for example, they are helping with things like transcription, they are helping with things like translation, and they're getting better and better. Our theory is that because with our particular platform, transcription actually drives navigation through the platform, and so we believe it needs to be almost 100% perfect. And so we do an automated first run, and then we top up with people to get it to that level of accuracy. There are other systems that don't use manual. They'll just use the machines, and they'll be getting 70% accuracy, which could be good enough. Certainly, there's quite a big difference in the cost of doing things automated or automated plus manual. Certainly when it comes to certain languages. So the machines can help there. I think machines can also help with things like tone of voice and facial expression. So those things are tried and tested, and so you can get the machine to tell you whether someone overall is happy or beginning to get frustrated in certain sections. So that will be processed and a result given back to you. And I think there's going to be more of this kind of analysis of language. So certainly once you transcribe things, the sentiment can be processed. That's very much tried and tested. So once the language is in there, then sentiment can be part of the analysis of what's been said. So that's there. And just generally having a technology, so a platform to actually house all the videos, have them all in the same code, so that they will run from every browser. So videos come in a number of different formats, and that can be a bit of a nightmare. So getting them all encoded into the same format is one of the things that technology can help with. And then just having technology that allows you to tag, to allow you to put that structure around the videos, so that when you're coming to look at the videos, then you can search for any keyword that's in the transcription or any tag that exists. And this is all very important. If I go back to which one is it? It's this one here. The ability to look across what we call horizontal analysis of video is very, very important. So traditionally, when you've recorded video and you don't have technology to help you, what you have to do is look at each video one at a time, and then you'll probably write down what your notes are, what highlights are coming out of that video, and you have to do that in isolation. Whereas when you're using a platform that's got all the videos in, and you've tagged, and sorry, not when you tagged, when you've transcribed all the words, you can start doing searching for when people have started to use the similar language, similar words. You can actually find those videos all at the same time. So you can start doing analysis across all of your video, and that will make it so much quicker to pick out the themes that are in the research. So we reckon when you use a platform, a video analytics platform, the speed you can analyze video and pick out the themes is 5 or 6 times quicker than doing it without the technology. So if you're doing it one by one. So that either means you can do things faster, or you can handle 5 or 6 times as much video. I'm just going to skip through to where we were. So I think technology will really come into its own in terms of the workflow of working with video and some of the basic processing of the content, of the footage. And that what the machines can do will, over time, get more and more impressive. I think we're still a long way off in terms of analysis and interpretation. I think we are going to need to still use people to do the large amount of tagging and to do certainly the interpretation of what's going on. So we've built a large client service team that includes people that just they will be tagging all day long, watching video and putting structure around the video, so that when you as researchers come back to analyze the content, an amount of interpretation has been done already. Now, that's how we work with some clients. Other clients, they use the system as a platform, and they will be doing their own tagging and their own sort of administration of the whole project. So but it'll vary. There are lots of other platform providers out there, so so take a look at the market and see what technology could help you with the way you're doing your videos. And certainly in terms of when you're actually putting the story together, so that's creating maybe playlists in its most rough form, so just collections of videos that will illustrate the key themes. I think that's something that the machines are going to struggle to put together automatically, so that's people doing that. And activation, so maybe the actual impact of the final result, the final delivery, which could be a 3 or 4 minute polish film. Again, I think it's going to be a long time before that those are going to be automatically put together. So I still think we need to have people doing that for quite a long time. And just to give you a very quick flavour of how a video analytics platform looks like. So videos are all there. All the content is searchable. So every single word, you can search for any word in the transcript. And when you find that word, it'll jump to the right place in the video. You can also look for any tags. You can do a combination of search by keyword or tag, and it will find the content. And if you wanted to look at the particular tags, which are all time-coded, so that when you click on a tag, it goes to the right place in the video, and you can see that behavior. And then you can very easily clip. You don't need to be a video editor. You can very easily clip. And there are a number of platforms that can do this. So what are the implications for you as qual researchers? I think these are some of the areas that we're seeing trends, is that we're certainly in the last 2 years, we're doing a lot more observational research than we ever have done before. So that kind of fixed camera, looking at what people are doing with products. So we are still doing a lot of pieces to camera. That's probably more on the quant side. I'd say from personal experience, we're not doing a huge amount from focus groups. I think online focus groups could be interesting for video because you do see the faces. There is the detail there that could be interesting. And I think for traditional focus groups, if those 360 cameras come in, then that could make a difference to how useful that video is going to be after the event. But certainly behavioral approaches to research and use of video from an observational point of view, I think is going to be massive. And I think certainly when we've started talking to end clients, starting to think about classification frameworks that will go across a number of different research projects. So maybe there's a framework for a foods category, which is standardized, and then it gets people to think when they're doing their research, when they're doing their analysis across all of their projects, then that smart collaborative framework that we build together, I think that could be incredibly important and something we're seeing more people request. And so that leads to easier quantification of video as data and putting structure around an unstructured data source. So working in that standardized way, I think, will be a way to cut through thinking about video as something that's very open and difficult to work with. Suddenly it becomes a lot more structured, and there are ways of dealing with it. I think because you can generate a huge amount of information from video, the key is to do the interpretation where it's most commercially useful. I think very quickly when processing is going on, it's to home in on the areas where it's going to answer the research questions as quickly as possible, because there is a huge amount of noise, and you could spend a lot of time putting structure around stuff that really it doesn't make sense to. And I think well, you can already see there's a few video-centric agencies that are started up. If you look at someone like BAM and what they're doing, and there's a lot more forming, a lot of small agencies that are basing themselves around video, and really video from start to finish. So video for collection, video in the analytics, and video in the delivery. So very much having high quality, almost like documentaries, documentary quality films that really do illustrate lives. I think I've seen some very nice examples where segmentation has been done, and video very powerfully demonstrate some of the segments. So kind of really explore the people in those segments and show you how they live their lives. So to try and give a good understanding to the whole business about the segmentation work that's been done. And increasingly we're seeing companies who get video and they are investing in the long term. So they're building up these insight mines, these video mines, where no matter which agency they're using and how they're collecting video, it all goes into one huge video mine, which they obviously use for the actual research project itself, but those videos and all the content lives on, and they can go back to that content and they can remine it and remine it. So if there's something else comes up in that category, or if there's another department that wants to look at all of the videos for a certain product, then they've got all that, and they can, because it's all tagged and all searchable, they can look for any mention of a particular product. And we've worked with a couple of clients in this regard, and we think that we're hearing this more and more, that to produce a whole video mine is a way that these companies are thinking. And then some final thoughts about how this could affect the world that we're working in. I think in terms of observation, I think we certainly are going to move to doing much more, getting the consumers to do this themselves, or having fixed cameras so we don't have to intrude with people in the homes. We can actually do in homes from fixed cameras, which could be motion sensitive, so they're only recording when people are in the room. GoPros, these wearables, these are really good for analysing life on the move. And mobile phones. I mean, mobiles are just really easy devices, and people are very used to using video from those devices. I think in terms of how moderators, how it might go with when you're actually doing interviews, I think you already see that things like insight communities and the ability to have maybe more conversational, maybe task-based activities rather than a long in-depth interview. I think I'm seeing a trend for those sorts of projects, maybe 2 weeks, 20 people, ask them to use a product, and then you've got a consumer-led conversation rather than a moderator-led interview. I think that'll take its time, but I think you can see it's already starting to happen. And as I talked before, I think on the analysis side, I think instead of research projects being seen and done in isolation, I think clients are starting to think about frameworks, analytical frameworks, and that whole long-term mining of content that they're generating from the research that they're doing, so that they can maximize the value from that, and the content that's generated in a project lives beyond that. And has more return on investment. And then in terms of the impact, the delivery and activation, I think we're going to you're going to see more and more polished films. So sort of the PowerPoint is contained, the PowerPoint bullets are contained within a polished film with really great clips rather than clips in a PowerPoint. I think we're already seeing that trend. And I think in terms of activation and maybe workshops, I think you actually start getting consumers in the room looking at some of the videos that they've been generating and just discussing what they're doing and just really discussing the footage and the whole research all together, so I can see more and more collaboration with consumers themselves. So there's quite a lot I've gone through there. I hope that was interesting. I'm sure there's some questions, so I'm going to hand back to Arthur and let's see what we've got.
Well, that was such a lot to take in, Richard. I think it was a really brilliant presentation. Thank you for that. And I'm sure everybody else will agree with me. There's so much there that I haven't seen before, and I think that's the same for everyone. I just created a very quick poll, which you can do with this wonderful system, which is, what are the barriers to adoption? Now, I can only, with this system, I can only actually put in 5 different responses, but if I now put this out there, if people could respond to this, please, you can select one or more of those 5 answers. So what are the barriers to adoption of video in research in the way that Richard's describing? If you wouldn't mind, you know, clicking on whatever answers you feel are appropriate there. And whilst you're doing that, what we'll do is we'll start to take some questions. So Debbie Moorcroft has started us off by, she said she'd be interested to know the names of some other of the platforms, if possible, from Richard. Well, Richard represents one of the platforms, so I don't think he's necessarily going to be talking to us about all his competitors. There are other people around who do this, but I just don't think it's necessarily fair to ask Richard who they are. But anyway, Debbie continues by saying, what are the MRS implications of keeping video data and data mining? I thought such things could only be kept for a year. So do you know anything about that?
I think a year is the default. So I think it varies by country. I think Germany is less than that, and certainly video data is very much private. So you have to be extremely careful about how you process it and who has access to it. So so yes, I think there are implications for video and handling. And so on our platform, we act as data processors, so we have to adhere to what because also sometimes clients have less than that. They have specific requests that we only keep things for 2 months, and then we need to make sure that we delete things when it's been agreed with the participants.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly share the results of that poll. So hope you can see that. So
that's really good.
It was only based on you know, what I thought might be. So the cost and lack of technical knowledge, that's technical knowledge I think on our part really. Wouldn't suit my project's clients, well that's very low, which is great. Not convinced of the benefits, that's very low, which is also great. So Richard, try and help us. First of all, let's talk about cost.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say what does it cost, but can you give us any steer? Because all I can imagine is it's going to be more expensive than doing it using the traditional route. So what would you say?
I would say yes. I would also say that if done well, there is huge value in working with video. I certainly think from a collaborative point of view, it can give you a lot more impact within the business. Certainly when we've done projects, we've really got quite close to the end clients that we're working with. And I think also when we work in tandem with agencies, I think as a 3, I think that works really well as well. So we're the technology, we understand video, we get involved in tagging, and the agency does the main interpretation based on what we've done. And the 3 of us, I think that works pretty well as well.
Okay. The technological support, which I think is
yeah. And so we do the heavy lifting of working with video, or we can do, The cost, yes, there is cost, and that varies really by the amount of footage. So the amount we have to process. So you might think about what are the bits to send to Big Sofa, if it's us. So we don't necessarily have to take everything. So it could be you put sections where you know that you're going to want to do a deep analysis of what's going on. So you don't have to send us everything. I think languages is probably the other factor that pushes costs up a lot. So if we're working in certain markets where translation is expensive, particularly in the Far East, we find that the cost for getting things transcribed natively and translated are relatively expensive.
So, do you have a rate card? Do you have a rate card? The way it works? We
do have a rate card. It's always better, I think, to give a project brief or an example brief, and then I think the rate card has a bit more. It always makes a bit more sense, I think.
But is there, for example, a cost per minute? So if I supplied you 10 minutes of video, what's that going to cost me?
If it's involving dialogue and it needs transcription, and it's in English, and to get it onto the platform, it's about £5 a minute.
Okay, I think that sounds quite reasonable. I might as well ask, because you've got an ICG audience, and we always love it when suppliers give us a discount. Don't expect you to do it straight away, but we would love you to offer ICG members a discount off that rate card if you can. So please have a think about that, and then come back to us if you think something's possible. Okay, now let's just cover off. So that's the cost. Let's just cover off this lack of technical knowledge. Once a project is up and running, I can see how you and other people who do can offer the technical knowledge. But how about in advance of? In other words, trying to reassure us as researchers who haven't got this. Do you have, I don't know, help videos? Do you have manuals? You've got presentations? Anything, any sort of collateral that you can provide us so that we can overcome those questions if we're in front of a client?
Yes, I mean, and also we do actually have a platform. If anyone wants to send us an email address, we can add you to the platform, and so you can start getting familiar with that, with a dummy project which has got videos of us as staff pretending to be participants. So it's all safe and it's all.
Okay. Well, what I'll do once the webinar is over, I will send out a note to the e-group.
Yeah.
I will add in whatever email address you wish, so that people can then write to that email address and sign up or whatever it is they need to do for that. So that's great. And
in terms of, we can take video from anywhere. So whatever devices, we're agnostic about where the video comes from. And yet, so we get DVDs of focus groups. We get access to a remote FTP, and then we'll just download that. We can also give you admin access to the platform, and then you can just upload videos. So it's very easy. Sorry, it sounds like I'm selling there. I've gone into product demo.
That's fine. Let me just take those results off the screen now. Okay, let's go back to a few more questions. Sally also raises one that really confused me. What was the man doing with the soup ladle near the washing machine? Please tell us.
We don't know. We looked for the most. That was not from our research project. That was from a Google search for the most odd washing machine-based image we could find. So
okay. Thank you for explaining.
Not real.
Not real. Okay. Okay. Let's move on to Richard Barron, who's asked a question, which is: do you have to get a signed release for each respondent?
You need to. It needs to be in the terms and conditions that you will be videoing them, and the video will be used for research purposes. So it needs to be in your terms and conditions with a participant.
Yeah. Okay. So Jackie Clark has said, looks as if the headsets in supermarkets would be a health and safety hazard. How practical in reality is it, and is it really likely to lead to natural behaviour?
Well, I think I think supermarkets may be something like the glasses. I think they would be better. I think they're much more comfortable than wearing a GoPro strapped to your head. I think that's pretty. You're conscious of that, whereas the glasses you're not. So I think the glasses are good. We've also done stuff with we got some brilliant footage I saw this week of a dad doing shopping for razors with his little boy. His little boy is holding the camera, and it's wonderful dialogue. And but he's going through his, will he buy this product? Will he? So it feels very natural. So that kind of getting two people from the family to go down and do a shop, and one holds the camera. I mean, this boy was probably only about 5 or 6, so it was very cute.
Well, you don't need to be any older than that now, do you, really?
No.
Now, let's move on. Keith Bailey has asked the question. How do you get clients to view videos? We've all seen VHS, CDs, memory sticks just gathering dust and never being played. How do we get clients to look at video material? And how to get them to turn the audio on when they're in a busy office?
So I think the polished film that's where it comes into its own, where you synthesized the research, boiled it down to 3 or 4 minute, very professional, punchy film with key clips that illustrate the themes. I think that grabs attention like nothing else, and it is only 3. I think 3 or 4 minutes is probably enough, tops 5, and that will hold them, and yeah, much more than a 45-minute PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, I've got it's not exactly a question, I don't think. It's from Jane Morgan, and she says developing a process to project with video is also a barrier. I'm not sure what she means. Maybe she's talking about, projecting on a screen. I don't know. An outline with gotchas might aid adoption. I'm not sure I fully understand what you mean there, Jane. So
could be the delivery.
Project. She's talking about. So she's now just said it's the project flow of the video. So developing a project flow with video in might also be a barrier. So
okay.
I think I can understand that. Okay, we've got
so
quite a few more questions.
Try and make that as smooth as possible. We can, if the fieldwork's going to be over a number of maybe weeks, we can start processing before end of field. So we can try and get things started and try and get things underway. So it's as less disruptive as possible, and doesn't slow you down.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the more we get familiar with working with video and using technology with the platforms, then I think it becomes much more known, and it's probably easier than you think.
Okay. Got a question in from Hazel Collier. The benefits of ethnography and videos of day-to-day life are easier to see for products with frequent use. Have you got any suggestions for approaches to integrating video when decisions are made over the long term, where people are not interacting with the product on a frequent basis? I mean, this could include things like buying a car, buying a house.
Yes, and I suppose that's the smart use of video. There might be some key moments. You're not going to capture every moment when people are making a decision, so that a combination of interview, maybe taking video just after they've been to a car showroom, if it's that example. How they feel about when they come out of each car showroom. How do they feel about what's in their minds? So I think it can be an approach that does help. It might not be central to every piece of research, and I think also just to be smart about how much to capture, because of the cost implications. You don't also have to collect video from everyone, so that's another way of thinking about it. Is there might only be a few individuals where you really want to go into depth of video.
Ambreen Aziz raises a very important point around the legality of recording in public spaces. For example, camera glasses in stores. And I remember, Google Glass was going to be around. and doing wonderful things. And they a couple of years ago they put it on hold, and I know this is one of the main reasons was sort of the intrusive nature of it. You didn't really know. How do we as researchers handle that issue?
I think where it's certainly store-based, you need to get permission from the stores. I think that's one of the things we need to do. Although I'm pretty sure a lot of this goes on maybe outside of market research, competitive intelligence. I'm pretty sure as things like video or camera glasses become much more unnoticeable, they're just like sunglasses or normal glasses. I think that it becomes probably ever more tempting to use those. But as researchers, we obviously need to get the right permissions, and certainly when we've done work with end clients, then they will, if it's about products in supermarkets, then they'll need to get permission to do that. So,
but as you know, there are many systems around using crowdsourcing, Roamler, Field Agent, Beat Spotter, all these systems around where they actually get people to go in, consumers to go in, and they can do audits in store. They can just take pictures of displays and so on. People don't get, and probably wouldn't even think of getting any store permissions in those situations.
Yeah, it's true, and I think to do things absolutely properly can be quite expensive. So for example, when we use transcribers and translators, we're very careful to use ones that are still in the EU, and so that the data doesn't go outside of the EU. But there's things like that. There's a lot of implications about once you've got the video and you're processing it, everything needs to be done properly. And so there's a lot to think about from a technology point of view, and permissions is another one.
Okay, I've got a hello Corky, how you doing? Got a stream of consciousness coming in from Corky Gormley. In the night, she's got three things here. In the 1980s, I worked in academia analysing films of children's behaviour that I made. What worries me is the cost of all this. Also, why did you do a PowerPoint presentation rather than showing us what you can do in video? Well, I can answer that, Corky. The main reason is that video does not work very well on the webinar platform, I'm afraid. It would look really, really bad. But there may be videos that Richard has that I could, in fact, we are going to put one into the recording of this, so, but there may be more that perhaps we can look at doing, so we can perhaps show you some of that. You've said, how do your costs compare to Vox Pops and 360 Studios? Well, I think that's for you to probably take a look at, Corky, rather than Richard saying whether he's more expensive or cheaper. The main thing is Richard's going to give us a fantastic deal as ICG members. And also Corky says, I can see far more uses for quant than qual with this. There's been loads of times when I see quant questionnaires poorly administered. If you're a fab moderator, she says, if you're a fab moderator than me, like me, I think she means, there is no substitute. Absolutely right, Corky, there isn't. But I think this is where you're using video in situations where
I do agree that there's a tremendous opportunity for videos to do a good job in replacing some of those horrible long questionnaires. Maybe a few pieces to camera could cover a lot of ground in a much more respondent-friendly way. So I think quant is starting to wake up to video as well.
Okay, well, Corky's now Corky's now responded, saying she thought that Vox Pops and 360 were horrendously priced, and she says she loves me. I love you too, Corky. So everything's wonderful, but we better move on. We've got literally a couple more questions to go. Sure. One in here from Heather Forrester. Hi, Heather. Hello. For the year-long in-home video research, what incentive was offered to the participant? Yeah.
Yeah, it was 4 figures, but I can't say any more than that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. And then Jane Morgan has just come back to sort of qualify what she was saying earlier on. She says, what about the process getting the participants' video onto the platform? I mean, I guess it's just a simple upload. Is that right, Richard?
There is an upload, or you can tell us where the content is, and we can grab it. So the best thing is if we teach you how to do it, and you can just, it's just drag and drop from one window to the next.
Yeah, and coming back to her earlier point about the this flow within the project process, what she's thinking about is where would you actually fit this video analysis, if I can call it that, into the whole process, from suggesting it through to the client and the delivery of results. I suppose part of that is going to be there is going to be some time taken, which may be out with the normal project timing. So is that something you could, perhaps help us with? Where do you fit in this this work within an ordinary project plan?
So I think we tend to work obviously once after field and while the analysis is going on, we tend to be working in parallel and in collaboration with all the researchers that are involved. Yeah, it shouldn't slow things down too much.
Okay.
It obviously depends on the project and the timelines.
Okay.
But I think usually when we describe what would be an average project will have turned everything round in 2 weeks, including a polished film.
Okay.
So,
We've just a few minutes over our time, so thanks, Richard. I mean, absolutely brilliant presentation. Thanks for giving us your time to put this together and share with us. That's fantastic.